I'm Jodie, a relationship and sex therapist based in Southern California. We are continuing our Love Island reaction series with episode 12. So I'm going to try to switch up how I've been doing this a little bit. Now, as we're getting in, I'm starting to do like episode for each episode of the show. The reason for that is because they're getting longer, they're getting more complicated. We're really starting to get into the actual relationship dynamics and like the nitty gritty of like what's happening, which is what I love. So I'm going to try my best to kind of keep with the timeline, but also like go through each couple and kind of the things that are going on with them. We start episode 12. We get our first inside peek at the hideaway that Zach and Kata were able to spend the night in. We got to see a little bit of the activities that they were doing. It was really cute to see them kind of do their date stuff. They didn't just jump right into bed. They confirmed later in the episode when they came back out that they did confirm that they had sex and had a good time with each other. Again, like this is feeling like a solidification of their relationship. Super cute, no bad things to say about them. It was just adorable. Now we move on to one of the things that's kind of progressing from the last episode is the Casey and Anaya relationship, which we're really starting to see them kind of go through their trials and tribulations, where basically I had talked in one of the other episodes about Casey, it coming out that Casey was kind of interested in Soul when Soul entered the villa. Sure, we could have interest. Casey didn't act on it, but then last episode we were kind of seeing Casey say, hey, I don't really want to explore with people, but then he like pulled Soul for like an informal chat and then had a formal chat, and so it became a little bit more obvious. And then when it kind of came out during the challenge via Zach that he kind of was interested in Soul, actually, like Anaya's kind of defenses and curiosity started to come up. Anaya in that last episode was kind of going through some of that, so it's a continuation. It shows Anaya having a talk with Trinity. Anaya also had a talk with Mel later in the episode. Both of the girls are kind of saying the same thing. Anaya's very much in the, I don't want to feel like second choice. Is he just choosing me just to be with me? Like, but he actually maybe wants somebody else or he doesn't want to change something. There's a lot of insecurities coming up for her, which to some degree, I'm understanding those, right? Because he actually did pull Soul for a chat. Does that have to mean anything? Not necessarily. And so, to be honest, this is kind of where you're really starting to see Anaya's insecurities kind of drive the bus, and they're kind of sabotaging a little bit. That's my opinion, is that they're just kind of coming in, they're sabotaging, and her own insecurities are just starting to really kind of just run the show here. Because both of the girls, Trinity and Melanie, kind of said the same thing. Everybody agrees that Casey's a nice guy. Casey legitimately likes Anaya, and he was just making a calculated choice of saying, hey, yeah, there was something I might be interested in, but I don't want to jeopardize what I currently have with Anaya. The fact that it even came up that he was interested or even having a chat with her completely like shook her entire foundation and trust. It's an understandable thing, but at the same time, it is a little bit much and really is kind of be crossing that line and really turning into more of her sabotaging things. Both the girls did the same thing. Like, be mindful, he's a good guy, and like, let's try not to overthink this too much. Like, he is legitimately interested in you. Melanie kind of said the same thing. And I also did mention like the kind of sex pacing of things, like not necessarily sex, but like she often wants to go to bed and sleep, and I get a lot of this topic with my clients, and there is a component of, hey, we're taking it slow in this, and usually a lot of men, their love language is physical touch, right? They want to feel wanted, they want to feel close through physical touch, and that's how sometimes they get their emotional needs met. So there is a component there too that kind of makes things a little more complicated. I get what's going on with them. It did show Casey and Anaya having a conversation later. I got a little bit of whiplash from that conversation, I'm gonna be honest. I originally was like, oh, it's a nice mature conversation. They're actually able to talk about what's going on. And also, like, I think Casey kind of brought out a good point.
Like, that was crazy as fuck.
That's how it felt. Why I felt disrespected, because that's how it felt. But no one wants to feel like a fallback option. So that was more me expressing like, damn, I don't want to feel like a fallback option. I want to be like the first choice, your secure choice. You feel me?
And you have every time. I can't even hold this against you, but like, I wasn't your first option. But since that fucking day, you've been my first option every time. Every single time.
I chose you, Anaya, like from the beginning, and you're not even the one that chose me originally. Like, I was your default choice, because if you remember from the beginning, like Anaya had chose, I don't remember who it was, but like another guy, there's two girls that chose the same guy. And so Anaya wasn't chosen for that. So Anaya ended up with Casey. So Casey is not saying that to throw it in her face, but more to say, hey, we've both kind of gone through this. Like, why is this something like he feels like he's getting thrown in his face? So I do understand this. Again, I don't think this is a very logical part of Anaya kind of driving the bus right now, so it is kind of sad to see, because I think that's what happened with their conversation. All of a sudden, the conversation took a turn, and she was like, yeah, I mean, we're just in a different place, and they ended up the conversation like worse than they started.
Wait, what?
I'm over it.
And I was like, what happened? Why did it turn? Where did this go? I was in shock. I'm hoping that they can figure it out, but I think also this is starting to kind of give off some red flags to Casey. Again, he's not fully innocent in this either. I understand why her insecurities are coming up, but I do think that she's really kind of playing into maybe this wound for her of not being chosen, not being able to trust people, and that has become the reality. Despite, you know, again, I think Casey has pretty much shown himself to be a pretty trustworthy person for the most part and has been pretty honest. I know he's getting frustrated. I swear every time I pause the show to write a note, it's like, of course, you know, he's frustrated. I'm sure he's not going to bring his best self to all these conversations, but I think he's really making an effort to affirm and validate that he cares for Anaya and he wants to be with Anaya and he doesn't want to choose Soul, and she's just not having it. I'm hoping that they can recover because they were one of the more stable couples, but I think this is really going to be in Anaya's court right now of whether she's going to kind of pull back from sabotaging this. Then we have, Corbin, Kenzie, Caleb, Melanie, whatever that all is. There was a point where Corbin said he was going to focus on Melanie, and then they both kind of have a conversation and kind of confirmed that, like, they're both just kind of stuck with each other. There is a potential, but, like, because they're so caught up on the other people, it's just not really going to go anywhere right now, and Melanie continues to sleep in Soul Ties, and she also is doing that, I think, because of Sincere as well, but again, also because the guy that she's coupled up with doesn't really want to get too close with him because they both kind of have feelings for other people right now. So, understandable. One of the main dramas this episode was Corbin, Kenzie, Caleb triangle that's happening, and Corbin and Kenzie had a conversation. They were like on the dock thing. They both like were talking about how they felt conflicted. Corbin kind of said that, you know, Kenzie's the one that's in control, which I agree. If you remember, like, how this even happened was Corbin and Kenzie were together, and then, you know, America voted Caleb to be matched with Kenzie because that was one, they have to vote him for somebody, but also because like that was like her type. That was the guy that came in that was like, oh man, this is exactly what Kenzie's looking for. To be honest, a little bit squander that. I've been talking about this for a few episodes now. I'm conflicted. I'm leaning more in the just, it's really hard to watch Kenzie right now. She is doing what she's kind of supposed to do on the show, but I think she's not really thinking straight. She's just kind of having fun, not able to have the conversations with them about kind of respectful things. Like, she just gets too caught up in her emotions, too caught up with her horniness. Like, it's just like, you are there to have fun, but understandably, right, you're gonna have people, like most people, they're gonna be conflicted. I want to have fun and I'm scared of getting hurt. And this is kind of where things are kind of stagnating right now between her and Caleb, because Caleb is interested. He's kind of trying to bring out with her already. Like, it's really hard for me to get close to you when, you know, every time I turn around, you're hanging out with Corbin, and then it feels like you're making out with Corbin. And they did think that her and Corbin made out when they were on the dock thing, which they did not. They were cuddling and stuff and basically talking about how they did want to kiss each other, but they did not. That was because of Corbin. Corbin was the one saying, hey, I want to have a boundary here because I am coupled up with Melanie. I'm struggling. I'm having a feeling still for you, but I also need to kind of respect what I'm at, and I know you're exploring somebody else too. So both Corbin and Caleb are kind of in the same position of like, hey, I'm a little guarded right now. Like, I'm interested in you, but you kind of need to choose which one of us you want to pursue. And she's just kind of like, no, I want to be over here. Now I want to be over here. Now I want to be over here. Again, it's the point of the show, but naturally people are going to have feelings and they're going to be scared of rejection and getting close to somebody just for that not to work out. Or again, how do you build that connection with somebody at the same time if you're still kind of looking at all these other options? Again, this is like the whole conundrum of the show. How do you navigate that? Yeah, of course, Caleb watching them, you know, you could kind of see them on the dock, was bothered by this. Kenzie, again, feels like emotionally immature parts are coming out from her in this episode. I mean, we've been seeing it, but especially in this episode, she's kind of like doing these whole like, oh, well, if you liked me, you know, but you didn't even give me a kiss, or you're not saying anything to me. And I'm like, for a reason. Yes, could they do that? Sure, but they're also trying to protect their own feelings as you're exploring. She's like understanding it, but then she's like kind of pouting and like, I don't know, just kind of being a jerk to like Corbin, for example. Very like childish kind of behavior, not vibing with me. And I think again, those are like red flags for me of her acting like that and just not being able to stay kind of grounded in herself and understand why it's happening. She could still want those things, but the way that she's kind of pouting about it and like giving attitude, not for me.
How are you feeling? What?
Fun. Stay home. I feel good.
She did check in with Caleb after her chat with Corbin on the dock. It was awkward, but she's honest with Caleb about things that are going on. And also, Corbin did kind of also mention that maybe they kind of fooled around a little bit in bed. We don't know. I don't remember them ever really showing anything besides making out. But again, they're undercover, so who knows? Sometimes the show's like really good at getting on those, but they never really said much about it or showed much on the camera. So who knows? But again, these are the kind of things that get really tricky. Once Melanie also hears like, hey, the news is going around like, oh, Kenzie and Corbin are making out over there, even though they didn't, of course, like that's gonna be a trigger for Melanie too, because literally just had that stuff happen with Sincere, even though she's not fully in on Corbin yet either. One of the things I really didn't like that they showed was there was a couple times that Kenzie and Jen were talking. And what bothered me about that is they are kind of like the type of friends, like Jen's kind of being the type of friend to Kenzie that's just gonna kind of feed your bullshit kind of thing.
Like, have they talked?
I don't think they've talked. I don't know what she wants, and it's making it hard on everyone else, it seems like.
Yeah, it's making me confused. It's making...
And you're getting, like, the worst of it.
I think we all need friends that are gonna validate us and help us like work through our stuff and be there for us. But it did feel at times like Jen was validating Kenzie's feelings that were irrational and just emotional and kind of feeding into some of this like bad behavior from her. So I was not a fan of seeing them kind of talk about this stuff. It's a lot of like victimizing talk of like, poor me, boys aren't showing me they like me. And like both boys have been very clear that they're leaving it in Kenzie's court, but they kind of need some reassurance to be able to open themselves up. And she's a little bit being kind of selfish in this. You know, I'm trying to not be biased, but it's getting really hard here with her, just with how she's acting and talking to them. Melanie was talking to Kalo, kind of processing a little bit of like kind of what's going on. Of course, like I said, he's been struggling and it's just a mess. And then at the end of the episode,
sorry guys, I can pull you for a chat.
Huh?
I can pull you for a chat. There we go. Feel that?
Okay, I'll do that.
All right, sounds good.
Good.
Oh, it's a deep breath.
Corbin pulls Kenzie for a chat right in front of Caleb. They go up in the bedroom area on one of like the benches in there and are talking, and she's doing the same thing. I'm like, well, you never kiss me, and you don't do the, you know, all this kind of stuff. So eventually he gets kind of, you know, and he admitted like, I'm trying to do this 'cause I'm trying to hold boundaries. And then she's kind of did the same shit. And then he eventually kind of gave in. You know, it's like the temptation component. And they're like, oh, but we're not going to tell anybody because we don't start drama. So now we're already like making bad decisions and then keeping things secret. And, you know, they could say it's to not start drama, to not want to hurt people's feelings, but you're just starting to be selfish. And this is how people get hurt. Own that, you know, just cut things off with Caleb if you need to then. She has encouraged him to talk to other people, but then again, she's kind of giving these impressions that she still wants to be with him. Again, there's nothing fully wrong with that, but we're just kind of getting down a slippery slope here of like, we start getting into some shady behavior. It did show kind of Soul, Jen, and Kenzie having a talk about things and just kind of checking in. That was kind of short. And then we did actually get to see Melanie and Sincere talk, which was nice because Sincere did say early in the episode that he wanted to check in with Melanie. He hasn't really had a chance to since the recoupling. He wanted to talk to her and he misses her, of course. He's conflicted, but he hasn't really been pursuing her, right? This is kind of one of the ways I think Kenzie kind of should be navigating things, is like we're trying to plant too many seeds different places and we're kind of sabotaging it. I did appreciate that no lines were crossed when Melanie and Sincere were talking. They were just having like an authentic, emotionally mature relationship or conversation about, hey, like I know I'm struggling, I miss you, it's hard for me to see you with another person. And Melanie on the camera alone was like, well, you know, if it's meant to work out, then he'll make it work, and just kind of giving it that space. But I loved being able to see them process their feelings, for it not to divulge into this toxic thing. And yeah, they just had a nice hug, no kiss happened. Like I just really loved seeing them shift to that and to kind of have some of those boundaries. I think they really needed a little bit of space from each other. They were just getting a little bit like too enmeshed, too like codependent and toxic before when they were in a couple together. There was a lot kind of going on in this episode, a lot of drama. Great. I'm looking forward to seeing the next episode and I'll keep you updated.